G'day and welcome back for more Space Engineers Survival. Last time we managed to get most of these solar panels done and got the tower all nice and welded up. And I'm pretty happy with the looks of it. But there's a final touch that I think it needs, and I'm having trouble deciding exactly how to do it. There are two options I've got in mind of what I would like to do. And what I'm talking about right now is colour. I think I want to make the armor blocks all a mid-coloured grey. But what I'm not sure about is what colour to do the stairs. I like the idea of having the stairs and all of the catwalk blocks a different colour to the rest of the base, so they stand out a bit more and it creates a bit more interest and depth to the base. So that's what we're going to look at first. And before I can do that, I really need to refill my hydrogen bottles. And this is a good point to note. I like these new little symbols that Keen have added to make it more obvious which type of bottle you're looking at. And it was always very difficult before. And while that's going on, I'm also going to plan ahead for the next thing I'm going to do after I colour the tower. Once the tower's coloured, what I want to do is build a couple of LCDs. One to show off the information that's included in Izzy's solar script, and the second to show off to display how our batteries are going. And there's a battery power display script that was written by Light Wolf, which I really like the look of because it's got a graphical display to the battery's charge status. So we'll be looking at that once we set it up as well, and it'll need a programmable block as well as the LCD. Then finally, after all of that, I want a whole lot of steel plates once those motors are mostly done. Alrighty, I'll just leave that going while we decide on the colouring for this. A few people on the comments section had actually mentioned the grey, and I completely agree with them. I think grey will work, so that's what we're going to try. And it'll be a mid sort of grey that we want to use. About there. So we'll colour all... Oops, didn't want to colour the solar panels. Shift P. I want to leave the solar panels white, as I kind of like the contrast between the white and the blue. We'll colour the rotors grey as well. And looking at it like this, we can already sort of see what I was going for, which is that contrast between the centre armour supports and the rest of the tower. So what I want to do with the two colour options is actually get you guys to all decide on what we're going to do. What colour it's going to ultimately stay, and what colour all of the catwalks that are external to the base will end up being coloured for consistency. And the first look will be this white, and let's colour the bottom of these towers, which is shift middle mouse to get a big block done, which I think we can safely do without getting the catwalks done. And if I go up to that one, it should be perfect. And then nice and easy, colour that. And we're done. So here's the first look. White on grey with the rotors made in grey as well. The second colour I want to look at is actually making this look more like your traditional, your current modern large engineering build. So all of the catwalks are going to be coloured in yellow. Let's move it back up a bit. Let's have a look at what that's... No, that's too dark. Still not quite what I was after. I think that looks maybe too fluorescent. That's about where I wanted it. So making all of the catwalks and making these rotors yellow so that it all looks like your usual large mining rig or your large cranes that you see on a dockside, that sort of look with everything in high visibility yellow. Those of you keen-eyed people might notice that I have changed the color of the base. That was sort of accidental. I might have used the Control-Shift middle mouse button to color the tower and didn't really think about the fact that I was coloring everything white at the same time. So Control, Shift, and middle mouse will actually color an entire grid, the color that you've got selected. So now here it is in yellow, and again in the white. You guys let me know whether you'd prefer yellow or white, and make sure you vote. By the next survival video, which is on Wednesday, I'll hopefully have a clear decision between which of the two looks is preferred. Now, I suspect we've probably got a bunch of solar cells finished right now. Let's check that out. Oh yeah, probably enough for another 2 panels. Let's get those welded up, and then we can start on these LCDs. The LCDs I wanted to place in this hallway. I want to do a bunch on each side, one side for mapping, one side for all of the status displays. And I think we'll use this for the status for now. And that means grabbing the pieces we need for these LCDs, which should be in our assembler. There we go. And let's grab our LCD where is it? I can never find it. There it is. And the other thing I need is the programmable block. So I'll pop down 2 LCDs here. No, we're not going to make them in yellow. One there and one there. And these will be our first 2 status displays that we've got in the base. What we also need is to go around into our server room and add another programmable block. So we'll place down our programmable block in our server room in here. Weld that up. And this is going to be for our battery status display script. And if we hop into our edit and we go to our browse workshop, you'll find Lightwolf script under battery status script here. Okay. Now this one I do want to make a change to. So if we have a look here, we've got name tag specific blocks. If I change this value to true, it'll mean that I have to have this tag in the particular batteries that will be displayed. The reason I want this is I don't want the ship batteries to be displayed on this LCD. What I might do later is put a second script block in and run a different tag for the ship's batteries. So we've got base batteries and ship batteries displayed separately. What we need to do is, to make my life easy, I'm going to copy this string, check code, okay, remember and exit. Then on the LCD that's going to have the battery status displays, I'll paste that. And then because I have a really bad habit with this particular one of forgetting the exact string that I need to type, I'm going to do this. Close that. And go to my batteries and add that to it as well. So battery 3 and battery 4. Now they should display on the LCD. Now for the solar alignment LCD, we need to type in LCD solar alignment, which is panel number 2. And now, when I head back to the corridor, everything should be displaying properly for both of them. Fingers crossed. Oh yeah, working perfectly. So we can see here the information that was displayed in the programmable block down in the bottom right. So if we have a look at our solar script programmable block, all this information is now displayed in text on our LCD. And this battery status actually shows in symbol form exactly the state of the batteries that we've got on the base. So it tells us that we've got 2 batteries for a total of 3 megawatt hours. We've got a blue lightning bolt symbol on the battery to show that it's being charged by solar power. All of the different status symbols and what they mean, and all the different colors and what they mean, are highlighted in Lightwolf's video. The link to the video and the script will be at the top of the description, so make sure you check it out if you want to build this onto your base. The way it gets the graphical output is actually using SE image to LCD and its clever script to make monospace font into a graphics format, which is very, very cool. And I like, just at a glance, knowing exactly what my batteries are, and a graphical display like this is perfect for that. The next thing to do on our base is to finally get our refinery inside here. And I think we're going to be pretty close to having exactly what we need to do that. If I go to our assembler, this one, we move that back there, because we're going to need a whole bunch of extra steel plates. I think we've got... Ooh, we might actually be pretty close. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of my motors that I've made so far and see if we've got enough to weld up these conveyors and get us all the way into that room. Because it would be amazing to get our refinery moved so that we can start having an idea of how to redesign the front of the base to make it a bit of a living area slash foyer rather than a weird industrialized area that's sort of functioning as a dumping ground. And then I can start really getting to work on the proper design stuff here, which will be so good. While all of these parts are manufacturing, I'm actually going to start welding up our refinery that's in our final refinery room. There are a lot of steel plates that have to go into this thing, so it's going to take quite a few trips. I may as well get started while everything else is going on. Yeah, okay, steel plates are done on the refinery. That means we just need the other parts. And that means I probably need to tell the assembler to stop producing those and start producing motors, which is going to need nickel, which is going to take some time. We need probably about another 30 to 40 motors to get everything done. And we've got the rest of our motors, so we should be able to get this all finally welded up. And we are connected to our new refinery. Something I thought about while I was building this is I don't think we need to go with 4 power efficiency modules on this. I think we should view this refinery as a replacement for the arc furnaces. So instead of, if I can eventually get the right rotation, there we go. Instead of thinking of it as a more efficient arc furnace, why don't I use about the same amount of power as an arc furnace by having 2 power efficiencies and then having 2 yield modules on it as well, so it can produce more from a volume of ore than the arc furnace can, which will be very handy. It won't do it as quickly as the arc furnace, but it will do it better. So if we can eventually hope to get 3 of these in with the 2 yield modules and the 2 power efficiencies as replacements for those 3 arc furnaces that are out in our corridor, that will be a step in the right direction. But that means we're going to need a bunch more parts. We need those parts for our yield and power efficiency modules. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Oh dear. I do not have much iron left. I think it might be time. Let's have a look at the battery. Oh, we've got almost 400 kilowatt hours. That's about just a bit under 40% of our battery power on our wonderful, ugly duckling. But before we go and take it out, we need to fix something that I believe I might have actually been able to blame instead of my driving. So I kind of wish I'd known ahead of time that this was what was going on. I think that the damage I got to my connector when I last took this out was actually due to the small rocks that were formed by the ejectors. And those small rocks were slightly spawning in the same volume of space as the connector, which meant that they damaged the connector. So to fix this so that it doesn't happen next time, I need to move things a little bit away from where they currently are and change the arrangement here just slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a corner piece on like so, then a straight piece here, then we'll have our sorter, not that way around, and then we'll have our ejector. And with this ejector being out the back away from any other blocks, we shouldn't get any more damage. It's sort of the same idea as what went wrong with my first crash test after the big physics update, where those chunks of ice were spawning inside the batteries and destroying the batteries. The rocks that were spawning here were gradually damaging and destroying the connector on the bottom of the ship. So hopefully, with it being this far out the back, we shouldn't have that problem. I guess we're about to find out. If we have a look in our battery, decent power. Let's take control. Not what I meant to click. There we go. On our thrusters, off our brakes, off the reverse thruster, and away we go. I've been thinking about the fact that I probably use most of my power on this ship getting to and from the base. It might be worth considering building a transport vehicle, a ground transport vehicle, to take the Ugly Duckling or any future miners to and from the mining sites, as that should save us a lot of power each way. And it'd also be a fun design challenge. But that's for the future. Not for now. For now, we just need enough iron so that we can build all of those steel plates that we need for our new refinery's upgrade modules. Oh, no! I didn't set up my ejectors. No, no, no. Not good. Now we won't have to carry stone back to base. And you can see each one of those stones is just a tiny bit bigger than the size of the ejector. And that seems to be why they're doing damage to the rest of the ship when they're close in. So we should be perfectly fine now. Let's have a look. Medium cargo container's full, connector's full, drill is pretty close to full. And I think we're at the limit of our thrusters. Or pretty much the limit of our thrusters. Yep. I'm not going to fill this up anymore. So I think that will be a little too risky. Let's head on back home. And it's this part of the trip that I think uses up lots and lots of power, since we're having to lift all of this weight back up. If we could drive it up, we'd use a lot less energy than it does to use the thrusters to get up. Oh no, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? What have I done? Please, 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 please. Don't do that, don't do that. Oh, jeez. That was far too close. What? What's going on? Did I break a thruster? Have I broken a thruster? Why doesn't that seem to be thrusting? What are these thrusters off? Ha! Why did you turn off? That's just rude. Ugh. Oh, that must have been the thruster that I accidentally ground down while I was adding the extra conveyors onto the ejectors. So it got set to the opposite setting of the rest of them when I rebuilt it. Oh, no wonder this felt like it was handling terribly. I'm glad I noticed that eventually, and without having crashed into the ground so hard that I destroyed the ship. Because that was kind of close. I hit the ground pretty hard. And we have iron. While that's refining the iron and we're building the rest of the next lot of plates, let's expand this tunnel out a bit so that we've got room for the second refinery, which is actually the refinery that's in the front of the base. Alright, so with our refineries, I wanted to leave a bit of a gap between each one, so that if we later want to build a sorter setup, we can without too much trouble. And I think if we leave 2 blocks space, that should be more than adequate. And upgrade modules pretty much complete. Now, what I need to build next is the conveyors to connect these two, and then I'm going to start grinding down the refinery that's at the front of the base after I go and refill my jetpack. So we'll build these conveyor tubes. There we go. And now it's time for a whole lot of grinding and a whole lot of running back and forth so that I can move this refinery all the way down the back. And the way I'm actually thinking I might do this, go to our control panel and turn it off. Go to our inventory and grab everything out from it. Now, instead of having to walk back and forth all the way with everything, having to do lots and lots of trips, I might just grind them all down, shove them in the cargo container, and then do one trip at the very end. And it's done. We have no wall anymore. We've also, again, disconnected the cargo container, but this time it's really easy to reconnect. You just got to move these down to here. And this should give me enough space to think about how to put all of this back together. So we've got a wall and we've got a functional front area. Weird looking out the side of the base straight at that. Definitely think a door could be useful here so that I can run straight up to the solar tower without having to go out the side door and all the way around. Let's weld up that new refinery so we've got both up and running and functional. We should be able to access everything from here, which will save a bit of trouble. There we go. 2 fully upgraded refineries, 2 power efficiency and 2 yield modules on each. And what's their... So they're using up 250 kilowatts, which is cheaper to run than each of the arc furnaces, and their effectiveness is 141%, so that's not too bad. They'll be a bit slower than the arc furnaces, but they will do so with less power usage, which is very, very handy. The base front is going to need a big redesign now. Before I can really do that, I should move those arc furnaces down into the pit, or at least somewhere around here. I could probably temporarily fit them on top here, placing them like this along the top. That might actually be a good option. build a temporary connection here. And then have our arc furnaces attached to that. We should be able to move down here. Yeah, let's do that. Let's get that done. Even though this isn't where these arc furnaces will stay, since I don't really want them in the very end. As they're ultimately not as good as the refineries. Once you've got your preferred upgrade modules on your refineries, the arc furnaces don't quite cut it. Now, time to turn these off. And if I grab our arc furnaces and then grab our refineries, should be able to move most of this into them temporarily. It's always good to check what's in the inventory of things that you're grinding down by hand, as they will spawn the moment you've destroyed them, which can be incredibly destructive in the case of anything containing ore, since they can end up taking up a very large volume of space when you spawn them in. And they can often weigh a lot more than you think. This is particularly true when you've got high inventory settings. There we go, our arc furnaces are done. I'm going to need some sort of cargo access within the front of the base. If I'm walking around on foot, I'm not going to want to walk all the way down into the back where the storage is. I'm going to want an easy way to access the conveyor system from here. And that means I need to have conveyor tubing to connect to that all the way back to the base. And what I think I'll do is maybe grind out these blocks here and bury the conveyors beneath them. We place our conveyor junction here, then pick up all this stone because I'm going to have to get rid of it somehow. Let's just roll it down the hill, shall we? Bye-bye. Now I can properly show what I was thinking of doing. What I want to do is place those conveyor tubes like that, and then have a curved one going this way, and then straight ones going along here. Now, normally I would have dug this just one block deep, except I want to have these LCD panels right down to the floor, and the other part of what I'm doing here is going to be placing some window blocks with the dark side up along here as well. So once they're placed, you'll be able to see down and see that conveyor in the stone below, which I think will look kind of nice. Because I want to have somewhere where I can access the inventory from the front of the base, but I don't want the cargo container the way I've currently got it. I'd like to have the doors line up, and the cargo container is currently right in the way of that. So we got our new cargo container. Let's get rid of these conveyor tubes here. Let's get rid of this cargo container. Bye-bye conveyor tube. Not sure what I'm going to do about the connector, but I'll figure that out. Now let's start welding up this new conveyor link, which is ultimately going to go under the floor of this main corridor and join up at the back there. I may change my mind about making this visible, and if I do, I've at least got enough room to put down the armor blocks to hide it completely. And we have... come on, out of the way. Our finished conveyor system again. Excellent. Now, I did think about doing the glass thing, but I actually don't really like that idea now. I think I'm just going to cover this all up with the armor blocks again. Have it completely hidden. As I suspect it'll look better, I might eventually replace the center blocks with interior blocks so that we've got some interesting patterns on the floor. And I wish I'd placed that the correct way upside up. Dang it. Oh well. We'll fiddle with that at a later stage, I reckon. And then I'm going to have to figure out how to connect up the connector for it. But I suppose it'll have to temporarily be in the way of everything else. But at least we're closer. We're much, much closer than we were to the final product, which I'm quite happy about. Alright. All of our connectors are done. Let's get our solar cells. Let's go finish off this tower. I think we're going to be very close. I think we'll have just 2 left after we put all these cells in. And there we go, onto our final 2 solar panels. Oh yeah. That is going great. Well, I think we've made some pretty big progress. We've also made some odd holes in our base. But having moved all of the refining stuff way down the back into our proper final refinery room, I'm pretty happy. We've gotten a second refinery up as well. Ah, yes, things are finally looking up. We got all that construction done in the previous episode, and now we've gotten all of this stuff moved down the back in this one. We've got some LCDs up that are showing the status of our batteries and our solar panels. Happy, happy days. I've got a few big plans for the front of this base, but I'm going to have to let them stew for a little while so that I get happy with how they're going to turn out. And don't forget, make sure you vote for whether you like the yellow catwalks or the white catwalks. There's the expansions, the upgrades, lots and lots and lots more to come. So I'll see you then.